Hello guys, welcome back. Hopefully you guys enjoyed my last video. In last video, I showed you guys how to create a traffic manager on Azure and how to configure this traffic manager using the performance-based routing method. With the performance-based routing method, the traffic manager will redirect all the client's traffic to an endpoint with the lowest delay. But now I have a new requirement. Here I have two virtual machines. One is running in East Asia. Another one is running in France Central. Both of them have the Nginx installed, and I have a very simple web page running on both of them. I also have an app service running in Australia East. Now my goal is to redirect all the clients from Australia to the app service running in Australia East, and all the clients from France be redirected to the web page running on this France Central virtual machine, and all the other clients except those from France and Australia, their traffic will be redirected to the East Asia virtual machine. In this case, I cannot use the performance-based routing method because the performance-based routing method cannot guarantee me a client will be directed to an endpoint located in the same location as the client. So in this case, what we can use is the geographic-based routing method. Now I've already have the traffic manager created. It's just a vanilla traffic manager profile with the default configuration, which is the performance-based routing method. And I don't have any endpoints configured. Now we can change it to geographic-based routing method, which is very simple. We just go to the configuration and select the geographic routing method here. And I also want to eliminate the client DNS cache's impact. So I just change this TTL to 0. In the production, you might not want to do this because this will increase your cost. Also, just to make the failover faster, so I will change the probing interval to 10 seconds instead of 30 seconds, and the tolerate number of failure just to 1, and the probe timeout to 5 seconds. Now we save this, and then we go to add those 3 services into the endpoints. Let's just add the app service first. It's pretty simple. We just give it a name, Australia, and tag resource type is app service. Choose the app service here, Australia East-Web01. Now the difference is that at here we need to manually map the geographic location for this endpoint. You can actually choose a different physical location to the real location of this endpoint. In some cases, you might want to do that, but in this case, I'm going to map this endpoint to its real location, which is in Australia Pacific, and the country region is Australia. Well, you can just go down to the state or province level. The traffic manager will try to find an endpoint from the lowest level, which is the state or province level. If it cannot find an endpoint at that level, you just go up to the next level, which is the country or region level, and all the way up to the regional or grouping level. So for example, if I configured this endpoint to Victoria, now a client from South Australia will not be able to use this endpoint because South Australia and Victoria, they are different states. Even both of them are in Australia, but because we will match the lowest level first, so it will not be able to use this endpoint. Okay, so we just configure this endpoint as Australia, and then we just add it. The next one is the France one. Now for the Azure virtual machine, there is no such target resource type called Azure virtual machine. So what we can use is this public IP address. We can choose the virtual machine's public IP address, which means that if you want to add a virtual machine to the traffic manager, this virtual machine has to have a public IP address, and this public IP address also has to have a DNS label. Otherwise, the traffic manager will list it here, but you will not be able to choose it. Okay, we choose this France Central-VM01-IP, give it a name, we just call it France. Again, we will need to map this endpoint to a physical location, which is in Europe and in France. So we added this endpoint. The third one is the one for all the other clients except the clients from Australia and France. We'll also add this one as an Azure endpoint give it a name, East Asia, and the target resource type is public IP address. We'll choose the East Asia-VM01-IP. Now here we need to map it to the top level, which is all world. Otherwise, the other clients will not be able to use this endpoint. Now we should have all 3 endpoints configured and all 3 endpoints are online. Now we can go and test the traffic manager. Here I have 3 clients. One is from Australia, and another one is from France Central, and the other one is from East US. So from the Australia client, what will happen if we try to access this traffic manager's URL? If we just go to curl and with this URL. Okay, so that brings us to the app service running in Australia East, which is we expected. Again, we can test that from France Central as well. So we just do that again, and it brings us to the France Central virtual machine. That's perfect. Now with the East US, because this one doesn't belong to Australia or France, so it should be redirected to the East Asia virtual machine. It has been redirected to the East Asia virtual machine. So far, it works perfect and it looks pretty similar to the performance-based routing method. Now, what will happen if one of the endpoints fails? For example, if we just go to the France Central virtual machine and shut down the Nginx service, what will happen to this France Central client if we do this test again? So basically, it tells us the connection refused, timeout. It might be because the traffic manager hasn't detected the failure yet, so we'll just give it some time and just wait for this traffic manager. Actually, it has already detected the failure of that web service. So this client should be able to fail over to another endpoint, right? But actually, it doesn't. If we do a dig to this URL, it will tell us what exactly the DNS resolve is. So basically, this traffic manager's URL still being resolved to the France Central virtual machine. And no matter how many times we try this, it will be connection refused. That's the biggest difference between the performance-based routing method and the geographic-based routing method. For the performance-based routing method, if one endpoint fails, the traffic manager will try to use another one. But it's not the case for the geographic-based. If the endpoint in a specific region fails, it will not try to redirect the client from that region to any other endpoint. So then you might ask the question, how about the high availability? Because in production, we cannot tolerate this kind of failure, right? Now the solution is to use the listed traffic manager profile. If you guys are interested in that topic, please just leave your comments under this video. Then I can make another demo for you guys. Otherwise, you just only need to remember that the geographic-based routing method will not fail over if an endpoint in a specific region fails. But what will happen if we come here, just disable this endpoint in France? If we disable this and then save that, and then if we just come back to this client again, so just give it some time. Now this client has been redirected to the worldwide endpoint. Why it works in this way? Now in this case, because we disabled the France endpoint, which means we don't have any endpoints from France. Now when this client tries to access this traffic manager, the traffic manager checks all the endpoints it has, and the only thing matches with that client is the East Asia endpoint. So that's a reason why this client is being redirected to the East Asia endpoint. And of course, this will not affect the other 2 clients. So if we test this out, the Australia client and the East US client still works. Now, if we enable the France endpoint and restart the Nginx service, the client from France Central should be able to access that endpoint again. Yes, it is accessing the endpoint in France. Alright guys, that concludes this demo. If you have any question, any suggestion, please let me know. Otherwise, just stay tuned. More demos will come soon. See you next time.